Okay, in this short video we're going to be looking at drapery. This is the first time we've tackled drapery in the course. It's pretty challenging. There's a lot to it. Don't be too frustrated because it does take a lot of time to be able to master. We're going to be working with charcoals again, but this time we're going to be adding compressed charcoal to the mix. Okay, so we're going to begin. Download the image, and then start by outlining the basic shapes. And you see in this picture there's a lot of diagonal lines in this picture, okay? Think in terms of triangles and angular shapes. So just try and get those major boundaries. Don't come in and look for these subtleties here, too much subtlety in here. Just get this major sort of bend that's happening, or the edge of this fold that's in the front of the picture and the piece that comes out the back, and just kind of break that down on your piece of paper using the vine charcoal. Erase to move things if you want, get the angles right, get the proportions. Use sight lines again. All the things we talked about from the beginning of the course are incredibly useful. They are the basics of drawing. So by relying on all those tools, sighting, sight lines, etc., work on getting your shapes accurate. Once your shapes are accurate, then the shadows basically just fall into place. But if your shapes are not accurate, you're going to have a hard time squeezing in the shadows. Okay, and then we start by what we call blocking in. Put your vine charcoal on the side and just kind of rub on the paper, the side of the charcoal, and just get these large areas of dark. You're looking for the general shapes of the shadows. Now, I don't want you to go to one area and develop it before you go to the next area. Try to do a bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here, bit here. And then, as you'll see as the drawing progresses, we're going to move throughout the entire drawing piece by piece. No one part is going to get finished until the whole thing is getting finished. So you'll see like the top, it's all very dark in the original, and that just creates a lot of charcoal all over the paper and can be messy. So I'll hold off on that for most of the drawing. But for the rest of it, I'm going to be working on all these different areas relatively simultaneously. So begin by just blocking in. And a good thing to do is squint your eyes. When you squint your eyes, you see these shapes. And you see, here's a kind of a circular shape with it's an angular cutout in the middle, and this is sort of an upside-down triangle. Another kind of long bent triangle on its side. So whatever language you want to use, angular again here, go for it. It doesn't matter. Just try and replicate what you can see the best way you can. And then start to smooth it out a little bit. So we don't want the texture of the charcoal to be too dominant. This is the last drawing we're going to do where we use our fingers to rub it in, so enjoy it while you can, because we're going to be going to other media where texture is much more part of the drawing, okay? So, smooth out, get a little bit of blending, soften some of the edges so they're not too harsh. And then we're going to just keep building up. You'll go back and you'll reinforce the darks. You'll pop out the main shapes. If you look over here, what really stands out? It's up here, it's over here, it's down here, these two little pieces here. And so start to lay in more darks. You're not really going to compressed charcoal yet. We're going to take the vine charcoal fairly far, and then we'll bring in the compressed charcoal just to get those extra darks, like this, for instance. That's black. That'll be entirely compressed charcoal at some point. All right, so we're developing the darks. We're pushing a little further with them. Moving along, taking them even more, building them up, hinting at areas that we haven't yet developed. Core shadows, when it comes to fabric, core shadows are really important. And if we look at the picture, we have obvious ones here and here, one right here. This one here, you can see in the drawing, I've exaggerated it, meaning it really stands out. If you choose to leave core shadows stronger than they are in the original, generally that's fine, because at the end of the day, the picture is what we have left. We don't have the photo reference, and core shadows are a really useful thing to pull out of drawings, especially when we come to drapery. So, here you can see it's much stronger than the original. I will tone it down as we go, but know that you can exaggerate core shadows. It, generally speaking, doesn't hurt the drawing. You'll see that this whole section here is generally lighter than this section. So eventually I'm going to get a little darker here than here. I'll try and leave some details out, like some folds and creases like this, very subtle ones. You can leave out a lot of the minor creases and folds, or you can put them in. It's entirely up to you. I'll leave some out, and I'll probably put this one in as we go along. Okay, so pushing them a little bit more, we're developing them. The core shadow is beginning to hide a little bit up there. Again, getting some dark reinforcements here. Again, I will come back and darken this. Looking at the core shadow here, developing this dark, and looking at the cast shadow. So this, in the next slide, I think this will curve a little bit more. The cast shadow tells us about the shape of the object the shadow is falling on. So it's very, very useful. So look for cast shadows. This is a cast shadow, for instance. This is cast. And so you're just going through the drawing. You're working piece by piece by piece without getting too bogged down with details. Now, this is a dark background, but notice that the cloth, the edge of the cloth here is darker than the background. The edge of the cloth is lighter than the background, and the edge of the cloth just merges with the background. So we have three different things happening on this cloth. So make sure you have that light edge. You have it's darker, and how do we know that's darker? Because this is lighter, but it's also a little bit of light on the inside here. It's just catching a little bit of light. Here I have a very sharp line, but here it's very soft. So it just means I got to come back in with some shading on the edge. One way to do that is actually go black here, and then with your finger just go over, just cross this line gently. Just go back and forth with your finger very lightly and come over the line into the white, and you'll get this softness to your edge. So some edges we want to be soft, some edges we want to be a little crisper and harder. All right, so you can see the details are building up. The cast shadow is getting a little bit more developed. When we come here, the cast shadow is more developed. This core shadow is beginning to pop out here. If you squint your eyes, you can barely see it right there. More of the darks are put in. Okay, so you're just taking it gradually, one step at a time. And in this final slide, I'm going to be putting in the biggest darks on the top. There we go, and building up the darks here and there. Okay, so sorry, I forgot to mention, when you're going for these really dark darks, this is where you're putting your compressed charcoal in here, underneath here. So the compressed you want to hold off until later in the drawing. And that's something we'll be doing a lot of when we're working with compressed charcoal. We don't want to go too dark too soon. We want to use that almost like an accent. But clearly there's a lot of dark in this drawing.